What's up, troopers? It's time for another TFT mini. This is another primary. So this is shifting priorities. I believe as of the time that we're recording this, that this is the least taken primary objective, if I remember right from looking at the numbers on Longshanks.
That tracks.
And there's a reason for that, I think. Mike, what do you think the reason for that is?
I suspect it's because it rewards high mobility armies, and that
And a lot
is,
of armies aren't very mobile.
and people just don't want to do that. I don't know. People just want to play bunker assault, throw their armies in the middle of the table, and roll some dice, right?
Yeah, and they're like moving five POIs every round. That sounds complicated. Um, it's maybe not as complicated as you think it is, but you are very correct. Is that this one rewards mobility? Uh, it's like literally the simplest one in terms of the way that it's actually scored. You get a point if you secure a POI. That's it. It is also purely competitive in that way, and that the complicated part, so to speak, the fun part, it kind of comes in two ways. Is that one, this is the objective where, like, not only at the start of the game are the POIs sort of the farthest distance from each other in terms of like the one edge to the other edge for any of these objectives, but it usually becomes even more so as the game goes on because of the nature of the way this works, which is that when you lose a POI, you get to move it a half range in whatever direction you want to, and so there's usually like two ways that you can move that mic. Is that you can move it towards your guys, or you can also move it away from your guys.
Yep.
And like when do you make that distinction one way or another?
So I think this is actually, I think, one of the easier distinctions to make in the
Yeah, I
game.
think so too.
So if you are never ever going to score that POI, there's just like no chance. You move it away from
Right.
all your stuff, and you want to move it in such a direction that it is moving so that the unit that has to be stuck there to score it
Mm-hmm.
can't participate in the fight.
Yes.
That's the hope. Otherwise, move the POIs closer to your dudes
Yep.
so that you can score them later. It's a little weird because this is the only objective I think in the current objective set that sort of rewards you for taking your time scoring a little bit.
That is, I think that is correct. It's the one that rewards it the most, certainly.
Yes, I'm not sure that it rewards it enough to advocate for you to actually wait,
Yeah.
but there is, you do get a little bit of a bonus, and that is that, if your opponent's, takes the time to walk to the middle of the board, all of a sudden the POIs that you want to be scoring can be like just much closer to your guys, and it tends to stretch your opponent out in because they have to overextend even further to score it again.
Right.
Sometimes you can get a little bit of like a you know tug of war going on where like one person scores and moves towards the other one. They score and moves back, but it it generally doesn't happen that way.
No, it, it is usually that, like you're right. Is that in my experience, the game, it does often basically hinge on the fight in the middle,
Hmm.
but by losing the middle POI on round one, you can actually like make yourself more likely to win the fight in the middle, which can basically make it so that on the obviously important rounds in that sense are going to be 4 and 5, because like in that tug of war, your opponent scores first, and then you score on round three. Um, you're going to make yourself more likely to score on round four if you're just like killing more of your opponent's guys by that point.
Yep.
And a more consolidated army is generally stronger than a more spread out army, and so you can actually get that attrition snowball going. And like Mike said, it doesn't mean that you should just like give up the middle
Yeah,
POI.
I wouldn't.
It just means that you can recover more easily from losing the middle in this one compared to something like close the pocket, where you're often going to be down by farther than that. Like not only is it a difference of 2 points compared to one, but in close the pocket, the nature of the fight is not changing because you lost that POI. Whereas in shifting, you literally get to move it closer to the bulk of your army, which means that on round 3, which is often the pivotal round in terms of who's actually going to win the fight in that game, if you can take care of enough business, then you can dominate the rest. Of course, I have seen other games where the person who wins the middle does so because there was a big fracas like on round 2, and
Yep.
that somebody came out ahead, and then you're just like sort of smothering your opponent for the entire rest of the game. So
That happens often.
yeah, it
Yeah.
happens.
I mean, the benefit of the POIs moving is that your opponent is less entrenched on it, right? You don't have to deal as much with a like taking this POI strictly out of ripping it out of your enemy's hands. They're not, they probably still have a couple of units contesting it after it moves, but
Yeah.
hopefully they're gonna have to burn move actions to resecure it.
Yep. Absolutely. Uh, and as we said in the beginning, this is sort of the obvious thing, but it is honestly the thing. Mobility matters. If you have a list that has units with either compulsory moves or, say, a free jump action, then you should probably be strongly considering putting this in your deck, just because if you compare that to like a even something like a Vader dewback stormtrooper list. The dewbacks are maybe like a little bit fast, but
Yeah, they're
that
decent.
list isn't. Yeah, like they're decently fast, but they're not going to be able to like totally rush to other sides of the board compared to a speeder bike, or especially like an air speeder, um, or compared to Geonosians, who who can make 3 moves. But like your average trooper, the average like speed 2 trooper is just like they're probably going to have to pick a POI that they're going to be helping out with, and then if they win it, then they're going to have to chase it if they want to keep winning it, which
They're gonna be
means that
stuck there.
they basically end up stuck there.
Yep.
And so, like, what can swing a game is having a bunch of units that have enough mobility to get to the point where they're not stuck. Like, let's say you win a tiny fight over on like the one of the middle side POIs, so like either the second one or the fourth one across. Then if you have a fast unit, then they can potentially start diving towards the corner POI that your opponent is contesting with like one naked rebel trooper. And then if you're fast enough on the draw there, like you can get there with your Imperial speeder bike, and on round 4 get to where that naked rebel trooper is, and then potentially like start shooting at them on round 4, finish them off in round 5, and then all of a sudden you've swung what your opponent thought was a safe POI over to you.
Yep.
Like the more they're able to do that, then the more flexible you are, because it is important to remember that unlike with close the pocket, the middle is a POI, and it can certainly matter in the tug of war sense, but it only counts for 1 point, the same as any of the rest of them do. And so, like in some situations, you may just like give out the middle in order to actually score more points than your opponent.
Yeah, I think in that vein, I would also be very careful with how you commit your units to points. I think more so than any other objective, I would recommend keeping your harder hitting, heavier units that you care about more on the middle 3 POIs.
Yeah,
Because what I have seen happen is like you're like Bad Batch is really good at flanking, and they like really good at clipping units on the edges. So like you send your Bad Batch around the outside to, you know, take either the top or the bottom POI point, and then they get stuck there because you've got no other units there with them.
Yeah,
If you're gonna do that, somebody needs to follow them out there to hold the point,
absolutely.
so the Bad Batch can like or whatever This goes for a sleeper cell unit or your EXDPX units or whatever. Do not get your important units stuck on the wings.
Stuck chasing a POI because you have to score points, and then they're if Bad Batch is like sitting on a POI and not shooting, then it's not a great use of your 160 points.
Like you could have a 40-point unit there, like doing the same thing while
Yeah,
your
exactly.
your heavy hitter. I mean, don't send a force user over there either and get it stuck. Because you have to score the points. I mean, you can't. I mean, I guess you could choose to not score the points, but that's how you lose the game.
It's usually, yeah.
So
And on another episode, we talked about if you want to have like a really boring time or just like a really sort of unga bunga time, you can play Bunker Assault and a recon mission. If you want to have a really wild and crazy time, let me recommend shifting priorities and destroy enemy base. So that both armies just end up all over the damn place, and you'll have a rip roaring time. Definitely good to have a bunch of speeders if you're in that sort of situation.
for sure.
So I mean, to sum things up, mobility, like you probably don't include this in your list unless you have a significant source of mobility in one way or another, and then you know concentrate your army towards the middle, but not in such a way that you are like overly committing to like winning the POI in round two.
Yeah.
Because if you start losing the fight by doing that, then you'll actually probably lose the game. And then just keep an eye out for your opponent's ability to dive on you, which is going to come into play with whatever units you decide to send to your sort of like your home zone, the one that's on your long edge of the one that's on your short edge of the board, I should say. And then yeah, try not to waste your units by sending them towards the corner. And when you move the POIs, move the lost causes away from you, and move the potential grabs towards you.
Yep. Pretty simple when you boil it down. Not
It's a fun one. It's
it
like not
is.
that complicated, but it is kind of wacky.
It there's definitely situations where you end up with like two or three POIs, like all like you can have like multiple units scoring multiple POIs at the same
Yeah,
time. It
that's
gets a
true.
little funky.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. If you like what we do, please consider checking out our Patreon. And then also the big thank you to Jacob Camp for producing. And we'll see you on the next TFT mini.